The Great Pyramid aligns to true north with near-perfect accuracy. This video uncovers the lost blueprints of the engineers who shaped history's greatest monuments. You will learn how ancient builders achieved impossible precision and how their forgotten methods can solve modern engineering challenges. How did Gothic architects design cathedrals without written plans? What secret allowed a single man to build a castle of coral? By the end, you will see the past not as a mystery, but as a library of lost innovation waiting to be reopened. What forgotten masterpiece do you think still holds its greatest secret? That near-perfect alignment of the Great Pyramid is not an isolated wonder. Across 13 acres, its base is leveled to within a fraction of an inch, a feat that seems to defy the very tools we assume they had. We are left with a profound enigma. How did engineers from eras without advanced mathematics or machinery design and erect monuments of such staggering perfection? Archaeologists like Mark Lehner point to the pyramid's corner sockets, which show clear evidence of deliberate stellar observations. The builders were not just stacking stones, they were reading the heavens, using the consistent rotation of the stars to find true north with an accuracy that feels almost impossible. Their methods, while physically simple, were conceptually brilliant. Theories suggest they used water levels for perfect horizontality, cast shadows from central poles to track the sun's path, and may have employed primitive transit instruments to sight key stars. This was engineering born from a deep, patient observation of the natural world. The precision extended to the very materials. Granite blocks, one of the hardest stones on Earth, were cut with astonishing accuracy using only copper tools and abrasive sand, a testament to a relentless, innovative spirit. This phenomenon echoes across the globe. Consider the Inca walls at Machu Picchu, where stones were shaped to fit together so perfectly that not even a blade can slip between them, all achieved without mortar or metal tools. This recurring pattern of lost techniques forces a compelling question. What does this foundational accuracy reveal about the problem-solving mindset of ancient cultures? They viewed challenges not as barriers, but as puzzles to be solved with the resources at hand. Their legacy is a library of forgotten ingenuity, waiting for us to reopen its pages and apply a similar creative thinking to our own modern engineering dilemmas. That same reliance on the natural world extended to the very transmission of knowledge itself. For many of history's greatest builders, the blueprint was not a parchment to be filed away, but a living process, passed from one mind to another through word of mouth and the guiding of a young apprentice's hands. In the shadow of rising Gothic cathedrals, a master builder would not hand over a detailed architectural drawing. Instead, he would impart the complex geometry through whispered instructions and direct demonstration on the tracing floor, a large, flat surface where full-scale designs were chalked out and then swept away after use. This was a world of tacit knowledge where the skill was in the muscles and the mind's eye, not on a page. Historian David Turnbull emphasizes that this practical, learned-through-doing knowledge was every bit as vital as any formal plan. It allowed for the precise replication of arches and vaults across generations, with no written record ever surviving. Guilds, especially in centers of innovation like Renaissance Florence, guarded these methods with intense secrecy. A master would teach his apprentice through years of side-by-side labor, showing exactly how to shape a stone or balance a dome's thrust, ensuring the techniques were preserved without ever being explicitly written down. Byzantine architects, for instance, used simple tools like ropes and compasses in elaborate training exercises, passing on the principles of dome construction that would lead to the breathtaking Hagia Sophia. They left behind no paper trail, only the enduring stone testament to their skill. This makes you wonder, in our modern age of digital storage and instant data retrieval, what profound forms of understanding are we losing by stepping away from that hands-on, oral tradition of learning? The true blueprint for many of these wonders was not ink and paper, but the human connection between teacher and student. Sometimes the most revealing blueprint is not a drawing, but a break. A single cracked arch in a Roman aqueduct speaks volumes, a frozen moment of structural stress that tells us exactly where the ancient engineers pushed their materials to the limit. This is the language of ruins, a silent story told through erosion patterns, tool marks, and the very way stones have settled into the earth. When archaeologists like Aubrey Burle mapped the fallen stones of ancient circles, they were not just cataloging debris. They were reverse engineering the original design, using the placement of a collapsed lintel to deduce the precise astronomical alignments its builders sought. A scatter of stones is a puzzle, and each piece holds a clue to the grand vision. Modern technology gives us new eyes to read these ancient pages. Through photogrammetry, researchers can create breathtakingly detailed three-dimensional models from piles of rubble, digitally reassembling monuments to understand their original form and function. Scientists analyzed tiny samples of ancient mortar, not just to date a structure, but to rediscover the lost recipe, the specific mix of lime and ash that gave it strength for centuries. Consider the meticulous work on the Parthenon. Its partial reconstruction was guided by the remaining fragments, each original piece of column and frieze serving as a physical instruction. The subtle curves and inclinations of the surviving stones revealed the sophisticated mathematical ratios the architects used to create an optical illusion of perfect straightness, a secret that would have been lost if the building had remained perfectly intact. This forces a powerful question for our own time. How can we, as modern builders, learn from these ancient successes and their so-called failures? That cracked arch is not just a sign of collapse. It is a data point on material performance, a lesson in load-bearing capacity written in stone. By studying how these structures have weathered time, we gain insights into building for resilience and adaptability. We learn which designs endure and which materials age with grace. The ruin, therefore, is not an end. It is a mentor offering timeless lessons from the past to guide the durable constructions of the future. Fire, however, can erase a library faster than time erodes a stone. The burning of the Great Library of Alexandria stands as a haunting symbol of this fragility. While the full scale of its destruction is still debated by historians, the event represents a pivotal moment where entire worlds of technical knowledge may have vanished into smoke. Historians like Lionel Casson describe it as more than a collection of literature. It was a vast repository of engineering manuals. Within its halls were scrolls detailing the advanced crane systems and hydraulic innovations of Greek and Egyptian master builders, documents that could have illuminated the very methods used to construct wonders like the towering pharaoh's lighthouse itself. The loss was not merely of poems but of blueprints. Consider the works of Heron of Alexandria, a genius of mechanics. His treatises on automata and complex steam-powered devices survive only in fragments. We know he created incredible inventions, but the full depth of his engineering insight, the step-by-step instructions, are gaps in our history. These were not just ideas, they were functional plans, and their absence leaves us guessing at the true zenith of ancient innovation. Political conflicts and military invasions repeatedly scattered or destroyed such concentrated knowledge. The hypothetical blueprints for legendary sites like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, if they were ever committed to parchment, could have been lost in similar conflagrations. fueling the endless speculation that surrounds them to this day. In some cases, oral traditions attempted to fill the void, but the fidelity of a verbally passed-down technique is inherently limited compared to a precise, detailed diagram. This historical tragedy forces a sobering reflection. In our own era of digital clouds and seemingly permanent data storage, how secure are the blueprints for our modern wonders? The story of Alexandria is a stark reminder that knowledge is never permanently safe. It underscores the profound value of not just creating innovation, but of actively and redundantly safeguarding the instructions for it, ensuring that the library of human ingenuity is never so vulnerable to a single catastrophic flame. Within the hallowed silence of Chartres Cathedral, light itself becomes an architect. Sunlight streams through stained glass, casting brilliant pools of ruby and sapphire that trace perfect geometric shapes upon the stone floor. This is no accident of design. It is the physical manifestation of a hidden language, a blueprint written not on parchment but in proportion and light. Gothic engineers were masters of this visual mathematics, employing esoteric ratios like the golden section and the principle of quadrature to create structures that reached for the heavens while standing firmly on earth. As art historian Otto von Simpson noted, these cathedrals were built on Platonic ideals, where every arch and column reflected a cosmic harmony. The architects believed that by replicating the perfect geometry of the universe, they could create a space that was both structurally sound and spiritually resonant. To achieve this, they relied on simple tools and profound knowledge. A compass and a straightedge were all that was needed to lay out the complex patterns on a large tracing floor, a temporary surface of plaster or wood where full-scale plans were chalked out. These drawings, swept away after the day's work, held the secrets to vault stresses and the precise angles for flying buttresses. There were no written calculations for the distribution of weight. Instead, the master mason carried the formulas in his mind, using modular measurement systems based on the local foot or rod to ensure every stone, from the simplest block to the most intricate rib vault, fit into the grand design. The stunning rose windows with their intricate stone tracery were born from these geometric exercises, their patterns memorized and passed down through generations of craftsmen. The recent reconstruction of Notre Dame's spire after the devastating fire offers a powerful glimpse into this process. Without the original medieval blueprints, architects turned into detectives. They studied historical texts, paintings, and the surviving structure itself to approximate the lost techniques. They had to rediscover the geometric logic that allowed the original builders to calculate the thrust and counter-thrust of the spire's weight, a puzzle solved centuries ago on a tracing floor. This painstaking work shows us that the loss was not just of a beautiful object, but of a complete intellectual framework for building. It makes you wonder, in our pursuit of pure efficiency, what have we sacrificed? Modern architecture possesses incredible technical prowess, but can it learn from this ancient fusion of art, spirituality, and engineering to create spaces that nourish the human spirit as deeply as these stone forests once did? The true lesson of the Gothic cathedral is that the most enduring blueprint is one that speaks not just to the eye, but to the soul. Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks are a frantic race against time, a desperate attempt to capture the ghost of ancient genius. He pored over recovered manuscripts of the Roman architect Vitruvius, sketching feverishly to reconstruct machines he had never seen, from massive cranes to fantastical war engines. This was the heart of the Renaissance, a period not just of artistic rebirth, but of a great engineering rescue mission. Scholars and artists, as biographer Walter Isaacson describes, became detectives, unearthing classical texts that had slumbered through the Middle Ages and piecing together their technical secrets. For Leonardo, these fragments were a treasure trove. His designs for armored vehicles and ideal cities were not pure inventions, but brilliant acts of reverse engineering, filling in the gaps of lost Roman and Greek knowledge with his own unparalleled observational skill. The rediscovery of works like Vitruvius's De Architectura provided the foundational formulas for arches, aqueducts, and domes, offering a new vocabulary for builders. It was this revived knowledge that empowered Filippo Brunelleschi to solve the puzzle of the Florence Cathedral dome. He studied the Pantheon in Rome, not with its original blueprints, which were long gone, but by understanding the principles behind its construction. He then applied those Roman principles of double-shelled design and herringbone brickwork to create his own masterpiece, a testament to learning from the past without simply copying it. This revival was fueled by new tools as well. The development of perspective drawing allowed engineers like Da Vinci to visualize structures in 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional page, creating a new kind of blueprint that could communicate complex ideas with startling clarity. Yet, these theoretical designs needed testing. The Renaissance saw an unprecedented collaboration between humanist scholars who understood the classical texts and master craftsmen who knew the feel of stone and the strength of timber. Together, they turned parchment dreams into physical reality. Look at the enduring Roman aqueduct at Segovia, its rhythmic arches standing for nearly 2,000 years. It served as a constant stone and mortar reminder of what was possible, directly inspiring Renaissance engineers to readopt the arched form for bridges and buildings across Europe. This entire cycle of loss, rediscovery, and innovation forces a vital question for our own time. We live in an age of breathtaking engineering breakthroughs, from artificial intelligence to sustainable energy systems. How can we ensure that our own digital blueprints do not suffer a similar fate of obscurity? The Renaissance teaches us that human ingenuity is resilient, but it also shows that its greatest leaps often come from standing on the shoulders of giants we have worked tirelessly to remember. A giant statue lies abandoned on a rough path, forever frozen in mid-journey. This unfinished Moai on Easter Island is a silent witness to one of history's most compelling engineering puzzles: how a society moved multi-ton stone giants across miles of rugged terrain without a single surviving blueprint. The Rapa Nui people achieved this not with written plans, but through a living culture of oral tradition and relentless experimentation. Archaeologists like Terry Hunt and Carl Lipo turned to these very legends which spoke of the statues walking. Their radical theory proposed that teams of people could have indeed made the Moai walk, using a complex system of ropes to rock the statues forward in a careful, swaying gait. It was an idea born not from a dusty scroll, but from listening to the echoes of ancestral stories. The process began at the volcanic quarry of Rono Raraku, where master sculptors, using nothing more than hand-held basalt tools, would painstakingly carve the distinct faces and torsos directly from the soft volcanic tuff. There were no paper templates. Instead, the proportions and features were memorized templates, a visual recipe passed from one generation of carvers to the next through years of direct apprenticeship. Once freed from the rock, the true challenge began. How do you stand a colossus that weighs as much as 80 tons? The evidence suggests they used a combination of levering and ingenious ramp systems, gradually inching the statue upward onto its stone platform, or ahu. This was not a single planned operation, but a series of adaptive maneuvers, a community learning and adjusting with each new statue they raised. The motivation for this immense effort was profound. Each Moai was a powerful ancestral representation, a sacred link to the past that solidified social standing and spiritual connection. This cultural imperative provided the drive to overcome seemingly impossible technical challenges. Modern reconstructions have tried to replicate these feats. When teams attempted to transport a full-scale replica, they found that collective rhythm and communication were far more critical than any theoretical diagram. Success came from the shared effort of the group, from feeling the statue's balance and responding in the moment. This forces a powerful reflection for our own hyper-documented world. What does this teach us about the fundamental power of community and adaptive problem-solving when no formal documentation exists? The legacy of the Moai is a stunning reminder that human cohesion and shared purpose can themselves become the most resilient blueprint of all. A master's final challenge often reveals his greatest secret. For Sinan the architect, that test was the Suleymaniye Mosque, a structure where a dome nearly 90 feet across appears to hover weightlessly above a sanctuary bathed in light. His precise calculations for distributing that immense weight and for perfecting the building's acoustics were never fully written down. Instead, they are encoded in the stone itself, a silent testament to a synthesis of knowledge. As historian Gulru Nesipoglu explains, Sinan achieved this by blending Byzantine dome construction, Persian architectural ornament, and his own empirical innovations, creating a geometric harmony that was tested and refined through physical models, not detailed drawings. His blueprints were often poetic inscriptions praising the divine order, leaving the technical methods to be passed from master to apprentice through a lifetime of shared labor. This holistic approach extended far beyond the mosque walls. Ottoman engineers inherited the Roman water network of Constantinople and adapted it without detailed maps, creating masterpieces like the Kirkçeşme system. This vast network of underground channels, tunnels, and inverted siphons carried fresh water across deep valleys using nothing but gravity and a profound understanding of hydraulic pressure, supplying the city for centuries. The techniques for constructing multi-domed structures were equally sophisticated. Builders used temporary wooden frameworks or centering to support arches and vaults during construction. These templates were not standardized plans, but were crafted anew for each project based on proportions held in the master builder's memory. They also incorporated seismic resilience, building foundations with a degree of flexibility to absorb the shocks of frequent earthquakes, a technique learned through painful trial and error and observation of how older structures had failed. The magnificent Maglova Aqueduct stands as a perfect example. Its soaring, two-tiered arches have carried water since the 16th century, a feat of engineering whose specific design principles we can only infer from the surviving structure and the accounts of travelers who marveled at it. Its endurance asks us a profound question. In our modern pursuit of hyper-specialized solutions, how can we relearn this Ottoman synthesis of aesthetics and pure functionality? Their lost blueprints challenge us to design not just for efficiency, but for resilience, beauty, and harmony with the natural forces they so intuitively understood. The legendary labyrinth of King Minos is more than a myth. It is a monumental question mark carved in stone. The sprawling palace of Knossos presents a puzzle, a complex of over 1,000 interlocking rooms, courtyards, and light wells that seems to defy any singular, overarching plan. This was the world Sir Arthur Evans sought to decode, a place where history and legend are inseparable. His reconstructions, based on fresco fragments and the patterns of column bases, revealed a startling reality. The Minoans were master builders who engineered advanced drainage systems to carry away wastewater, designed clever ventilation shafts for cooling, and erected multi-story structures, all without leaving behind a single, clear blueprint. Their method appears to have been one of modular repetition, using standardized units of measurement and brick sizes to create an organically growing, asymmetrical, yet perfectly functional complex. The blueprint was not a grand drawing, but a flexible, repeating formula held in the collective memory of its builders. Knowledge of these techniques was likely transmitted not through written manuals, but through the sacred rituals of the craft and the tight-knit guilds that guarded their secrets. They understood their environment intimately. Deep rooms were illuminated by carefully placed light shafts that channeled the sun into the palace's heart, while the very construction of the walls suggests a hard-won understanding of seismic forces. The Minoans built with a flexibility that could absorb the shocks of the frequent earthquakes that shook their island, a lesson learned through generations of trial and error. Even the throne room itself holds a celestial clue, its alignment with specific astronomical events hinting at a sophisticated knowledge woven directly into the architecture, a plan written in the stars rather than on parchment. So we are left to wonder, how does the powerful myth of the Minotaur's maze actually help us in our search for these lost plans? The legend itself is a form of cultural preservation, a story that kept the memory of this incredible place alive for millennia, challenging us to see that the line between engineering and storytelling is far thinner than we might think. This rich interplay of fact and fable does not obscure the truth. It enriches our quest, reminding us that the greatest human achievements are often those that live on in both stone and song. The same principle of blueprint-free construction shaped the very mountainsides of Machu Picchu. Its terraces cascade down the steep slopes like giant stone stairs, a masterpiece of agricultural engineering carved without a single surviving diagram. The Inca engineers who designed them faced a formidable challenge, preventing the thin, precious soil from washing away in the heavy Andean rains while creating microclimates warm enough to grow corn. Their solution was a layered system of profound intelligence, built on communal knowledge and a deep reading of the land. Hydrological studies by researchers like Kenneth Wright have peeled back the layers of these terraces, revealing a hidden world of engineering genius. Beneath the topsoil, they found a deep layer of stones for drainage, followed by a layer of sandy gravel, and then a finer gravel, all working in concert to channel water away efficiently while retaining just enough moisture for the crops. This was not a design drawn on parchment, but one born from generations of observation and oral instruction, a recipe for resilience passed from master to apprentice. The stonework itself is a marvel of ashlar masonry, where each stone was painstakingly shaped by master stonemasons to fit perfectly with its neighbors, interlocking without any mortar. This technique was taught not with blueprints, but through hands-on demonstration and the use of small stone models. A master would show an apprentice exactly how to chip and fit the granite, a tactile education that ensured every wall could flex and settle during an earthquake without collapsing. The water that fed these terraces traveled for miles, channeled from mountain springs through precisely angled canals that relied entirely on gravity. The Incas used knotted cords called quipus to record numerical data, perhaps even tracking harvest yields or labor quotas, but the architectural knowledge for aligning these canals and orienting the terraces to catch the maximum sun was embedded in cultural practice. The terraces were strategically angled to face the sun, absorbing solar heat during the day and releasing it slowly at night to protect crops from frost, a natural form of climate control. Today, preservationists and agricultural engineers look to these ancient structures with renewed urgency. In an era of climate change and soil degradation, what can we learn from these blueprint-free methods to create resilient food systems? Modern projects are now studying the Inca model to design terraces that combat erosion and maximize water efficiency in arid regions. The enduring lesson of Machu Picchu is not just in its silent stones, but in the proof that empirical knowledge, honed by a community and refined through practice, can yield solutions that endure for centuries. Beneath the roar of 80,000 spectators, a second, silent performance was underway. The Colosseum's Hypogeum, a subterranean world of tunnels, cages, and elevators, was the true engine of its spectacle, a stagehand working in the shadows to deliver gladiators and wild beasts into the arena's heart. Yet the complete engineering plans for this complex machinery have vanished, leaving us to decode its secrets from the hollows in the stone. Classicist Mary Beard describes the amphitheater as a masterpiece of concrete vaulting and travertine arches, its grand proportions based on the Vitruvian principles of symmetry and strength that Roman builders had perfected. But the specific formulas for the Hypogeum's operation, the precise calculations for its pulley systems and trapdoors, were part of a hands-on tradition that faded with the empire itself. We know from historians like Cassius Dio that the arena could even be flooded for mock naval battles, implying a hydraulic system of immense scale, fed by aqueducts and controlled by sluice gates, whose exact mechanics we can only infer. The construction of this underground labyrinth was a feat of modular efficiency. The seating tiers, or cavea, were built using a repetitive system of vaulted corridors and staircases, a design that allowed thousands of workers to build different sections simultaneously without constant reference to a single master plan. This was engineering for speed and repetition. To lift the massive travertine blocks into place, they relied on sophisticated wooden cranes powered by human treadmills, machines whose designs were so commonplace they were rarely committed to detailed parchment. Later repairs further obscured the original vision as builders used spolia, materials salvaged from older structures, to patch damaged walls. This recycling, while practical, layered over the initial blueprint, creating a puzzle for modern archaeologists. Today, researchers use virtual reconstructions to simulate the Hypogeum's machinery, digitally reanimating the elevators and ramps to test theories on how a bear or a set of scenery could be raised from the darkness into the glaring light of the arena in a matter of seconds. This act of reverse engineering a 2,000-year-old venue holds profound lessons for our own time. How does understanding the flow of ancient crowds, the placement of their exits, and the management of their sightlines inform the design of modern stadiums dedicated to both safety and spectacle? The Romans engineered experiences, considering not just the structure's strength, but the drama of the event itself. Their lost blueprints challenge us to look beyond the bare concrete and steel of our own grand projects, and to remember that the most successful public spaces are those that masterfully orchestrate both human movement and human emotion. That same celestial precision is written into the very stone of the Great Pyramid. Its narrow shafts, once thought to be mere air vents, point with uncanny accuracy toward the pole star of its time and the belt of the constellation Orion. This was no random act of construction. As astronomer Giulio Magli suggests, the pyramid's alignment with Orion's belt mirrored a profound belief in a cosmic order, a divine blueprint where the earthly kingdom reflected the heavens. The sky itself was their grand design document, a living map that guided their every measurement. To translate these star patterns into ground plans, ancient engineers used simple, brilliant tools. In Egypt, a device called a merkit, a palm frond split to create a narrow sighting notch, allowed a priest to track the transit of key stars across the night sky. By lining up two of these instruments, they could establish a true north-south axis with astonishing accuracy, using the consistent rotation of the celestial sphere as their guide. This astronomical knowledge was not kept in a library, but in the minds of a specialized class of priest engineers. These individuals memorized the complex cycles of the sun, moon, and stars, weaving this data into myths and rituals that made the information unforgettable. They were the living repositories of the blueprint, able to direct the orientation of a temple or the layout of a city based on the position of a single star on the horizon. This practice was a global phenomenon. On the plains of Wiltshire, the massive stones of Stonehenge are aligned to mark the solstices, a calendar in rock that required generations of observing the moon's most extreme rising and setting points. The knowledge needed to arrange these blue stones was passed down orally, a sacred geometry remembered through ceremony. Perhaps the most stunning illustration of this celestial design is at Chichen Itza. There, at the Pyramid of El Castillo, the setting sun on the equinoxes casts a shadow that slithers down the northern staircase, connecting a stone serpent's head at the base to its luminous body above. This was not an accident. It was a precise calculation, an architectural event that transformed a static building into a dynamic cosmic clock. The entire structure served as an almanac, with its 4 stairways of 91 steps, each adding up to the 365 days of the solar year. This deep integration of astronomy and architecture forces a compelling question for our own time. In an age of artificial lighting and climate control, what wisdom have we lost? Modern architecture possesses incredible technology, but could it learn to once again harness these natural cycles? Imagine buildings designed to capture the low winter sun for warmth, or to use prevailing winds for natural cooling, creating spaces that are not only energy efficient, but also spiritually connected to the rhythms of the earth. The stars were their constant reference, a universal language of design that turned monumental construction into an act of cosmic conversation. Within the narrow, shadowed Sick of Petra, the desert silence is broken only by the whisper of a ghost. Faint channels carved with stunning precision into the rose-red cliff walls tell a story of a city that mastered water in a land of thirst. The Nabatean engineers who built this hydraulic marvel left behind no maps, no grand schematics of their system. Their blueprint was written in the very landscape, a testament to knowledge gained through generations of watching the desert's moods. Hydrologist Charles Ortloff studied these remains, tracing the subtle gradients of pipelines and the strategic placement of reservoirs to understand their genius. He deduced that they possessed a profound, intuitive grasp of gravity flow and sediment filtration, principles they applied without a single written manual. Their entire civilization depended on capturing the violent, unpredictable monsoon rains. They constructed massive cisterns hollowed out of solid rock to store thousands of gallons of water. Aqueducts built from terracotta pipes sealed with lime mortar and stone conduits snaked through the mountains, their slopes calculated by eye and experience to deliver water across vast distances. To control the destructive power of flash floods, they raised diversion dams and walls at key points in the Sick, skillfully redirecting torrents away from the city center and into storage basins. This was not just engineering for survival, it was an art form. They integrated water channels directly into the facades of their most elaborate tombs and temples, so that the life-giving substance flowed through their sacred spaces, merging the practical with the profoundly symbolic. The system was so effective it supported a population of tens of thousands in the heart of the desert. Today, as modern regions face severe droughts, there is a renewed and urgent interest in these ancient methods. Researchers are looking to Petra's example as a model for sustainable water use, learning how to capture and conserve every precious drop. This forces a vital reflection for our own time as global water crises intensify. What fundamental lessons can we draw from these blueprint-free systems to rehydrate our own parched world? The Lost City challenges us to look beyond complex technology and remember that the most resilient solutions are often those born from a deep, patient conversation with the land itself. A silent legion of thousands stands guard, yet not a single written order survives to explain their creation. The terracotta army of Qin Shi Huang represents one of history's most staggering feats of mass production, a project of immense scale executed with remarkable consistency, all without the detailed schematics we would expect today. Archaeologists like Yuan Zhongyi have pieced together the process by studying the warriors themselves, their regional clay sources, and the faint artisan signatures on their hidden surfaces. They discovered a system of decentralized workshops operating under a unified vision, where master potters used standardized molds for the torsos, legs, and arms, creating a modular kit of parts. Artisans then added unique, hand-sculpted features to the faces and hairstyles, transforming identical components into individuals. This was mass customization in its earliest form, a blueprint realized not on parchment, but through a shared oral tradition and a strict division of labor. The logistics were staggering. Teams specialized in specific tasks, from kneading the local lowest clay to firing the massive figures in wood-burning kilns that reached incredible temperatures. The vibrant lacquer paints applied to the warriors were a final, brilliant layer of artistry, though their recipes were closely guarded secrets of the craft guilds. This organizational genius extended to the very pits that housed the army. Engineers constructed vast underground chambers, reinforcing the earthen walls with thick support pillars and layering the floors with packed earth and bricks to prevent collapse under the immense weight. The variation in the figures is a language in itself. A top-knot hairstyle denotes a common soldier, while an elaborate hat signifies a general, and the detailed armor patterns reflect a strict military hierarchy, all communicated through demonstration and memory. Modern attempts to replicate even a single warrior reveal the profound complexity of this undertaking. Teams struggle to achieve the same structural integrity during firing and to replicate the subtle, expressive details that make each figure unique. This ancient achievement forces a powerful question for our own era of global supply chains and automated factories. How does this model of decentralized workshops, each with its own specialized knowledge, inform modern manufacturing and project management? The terracotta army stands as a timeless lesson in achieving grand vision not through micromanagement, but by trusting in standardized processes and the skilled hands of countless artisans, a symphony of coordinated effort where the only blueprint that truly mattered was the one shared between minds. The same principle of blueprint-free construction guided the Viking longship, a vessel whose very form was an oral tradition carved in oak. Its sleek hull cut through the North Atlantic swell, not by following a drafted plan, but by adhering to a system of rule-of-thumb measurements passed directly from master shipwright to apprentice. Historian Gwyn Jones described this as a world of embodied knowledge, where the critical ratios for a ship's length, beam, and depth were held in memory, often encoded in simple rhymes or proverbs for easy recall. The shipwright's true blueprint was his lifetime of experience, his hands knowing exactly how to select a timber for its specific purpose. A keel required a strong, straight oak, while pliable pine might be chosen for the curved stems. This was engineering through an intimate dialogue with the forest. The construction method itself, known as clinker building, was a testament to this learned skill. Overlapping planks were riveted together first, creating a strong yet flexible shell. The internal ribs were then added, steam bent to fit the precise shape of the hull. This technique, learned by doing rather than drawing, created a ship that could flex and ride over waves instead of fighting them, a key to its legendary seaworthiness. But building the ship was only half the story. Navigating the trackless ocean required a different kind of blueprint, one written in the natural world. Viking navigators were master observers. They followed the migratory paths of birds, knowing certain species flew directly toward land. They read the patterns of waves and the color of the sky, and on overcast days, they may have used a remarkable tool, the sunstone. This calcite crystal could polarize sunlight, revealing the sun's position even through dense cloud cover, allowing them to hold a steady course. Their nautical charts were not paper, but mental maps built from a lifetime of accumulated signs and stories. The launch of such a vessel was itself a critical step in this oral tradition. A communal ritual involving the entire community, it physically encoded the final steps of construction, turning abstract knowledge into a shared, celebratory act. The modern replica, the Sea Stallion of Glendalough, put these ancient methods to the ultimate test. Sailing from Scandinavia to Ireland and back, the crew relied on these very techniques of observation and celestial navigation, proving their stunning effectiveness across thousands of miles of open ocean. This successful voyage forces a powerful reflection. In our digital age of GPS and satellite imagery, what intangible skills of perception and environmental reading are we allowing to fade? The Vikings teach us that the most resilient navigation system is not always a device, but a deeply cultivated ability to listen to the world itself. The Alhambra's walls whisper in a language of perfect shapes and repeating rhythms. In the Court of the Lions, intricate tile patterns unfold into infinite complexity, each star and polygon locking into the next with mathematical certainty. These were not mere decorations, they were the living blueprints for Nasrid engineers in Granada, a visual code that replaced parchment and ink with a universal geometry. Islamic architects employed advanced principles of tessellation and fractal repetition, creating designs that could expand or contract to fit any space while maintaining perfect proportion. As historian Dirk Struik noted, these patterns were deeply linked to algebraic concepts flourishing in the medieval Islamic world, a fusion of art and science that allowed for precise replication using nothing more than a compass and a straight edge. The construction of the breathtaking muqarnas or stalactite vaulting exemplifies this. Masters taught apprentices the geometric sequences through hands-on practice, showing how to layer small, niche-like elements to create a cascading, honeycombed ceiling that appears to defy gravity. This knowledge was transmitted through demonstration, a physical understanding of how complex three-dimensional forms could be derived from simple two-dimensional shapes. The same geometric intelligence governed the practical. Ingenious irrigation channels fed tranquil reflection pools, which were strategically placed not just for beauty, but to double the visual space of a courtyard, creating an illusion of expanded grandeur. Wind catchers were integrated into the architecture, channeling cool breezes through palace halls in a natural cooling system that required no mechanical power. The restoration of the Alhambra's ceilings today is a lesson in reviving this lost language. Modern craftsmen must relearn these ancient geometric patterns from the fragments that remain, piecing together the silent instructions left in the tile work to repair centuries of damage. This painstaking process reveals a profound truth. The blueprint was never lost, it was patiently waiting in the patterns themselves. So we are left to wonder, in our contemporary pursuit of minimalist efficiency, what have we sacrificed? Our modern spaces are often functionally sterile. How can our own designs embrace such mathematical elegance to create environments that not only serve a purpose, but also inspire lasting wonder and emotional resonance? The geometric legacy of the Alhambra offers a timeless lesson that the most enduring blueprint for beauty is one written in the universal language of shape and proportion. Its winding path across impossible terrain reveals a monumental truth. The Great Wall was never a single project born from one master plan, but a sprawling tapestry of local solutions, each thread woven by regional engineers who knew their land intimately. Historian Arthur Waldron explains that its construction was delegated across dynasties and decades, with teams in each province adapting their methods to the local challenges. Where mountains rose, they built with quarried stone. Across the plains, they rammed earth into formidable barriers. In the western deserts, they mixed sand and gravel with tamarisk branches to create a resilient mix. This was engineering by context, not by a centralized blueprint. The result is a living chronicle of adaptation. Sections from the Ming dynasty stand strong with their bricks and stone, while older, earthen walls from the Han period have softened back into the landscape, each era's style and strength telling a story of the knowledge available at the time. One of the most ingenious local recipes was the Ming use of mortar. They mixed standard lime with a surprising ingredient, glutinous rice flour. This created a biocomposite so durable it has withstood centuries of weathering, a formula that chemists have only recently begun to fully understand by analyzing surviving samples. Communication along this vast network was another feat of empirical design. Beacon towers were not placed according to a uniform map, but were positioned on high points within clear sightlines of one another, their locations determined by what local scouts could actually see, creating a relay system that could transmit messages across hundreds of miles in a single day. The military engineers who oversaw these projects documented their successes and setbacks in detailed scrolls, but these records are now largely fragmentary, lost to time. We can still read their legacy in the wall itself. At remote, crumbling sections like Giantku, you can see layers of repair and reinforcement, each stone a testament to an evolving practice, a response to a collapse or an invasion that taught a hard lesson. This entire decentralized endeavor forces a vital question for our modern world, where we often pursue grand infrastructure with rigid, top-down plans. What can we learn from the wall's flexible, adaptive approach? Its enduring lesson is not one of control, but of trust in local expertise, proving that the most resilient structures are those that listen to the land they are built upon. A 9-ton gate carved from solid coral rock swings open with the gentle push of a single finger. This is the stunning paradox of Coral Castle, a monument built not by a civilization, but by one man, Edward Leedskalnin. Working alone under the cover of night, he single-handedly quarried, moved, and positioned massive blocks, some weighing more than 20 tons, using only handmade tools fashioned from old car parts. He left behind no drawings, no journals detailing his methods, just the silent, staggering result of his labor and a handful of cryptic claims about understanding the laws of the pyramid builders. Visitors who witnessed him work reported seeing him use a simple tripod of logs and chains, yet he never allowed anyone to observe the actual process of moving the largest stones. He spoke of harnessing the principles of perpetual motion and magnetic currents, suggesting he had unlocked secrets of weight and balance that mainstream science had overlooked. Researchers have since proposed that he may have employed an ingenious system of counterweights and pivots, using the coral's own center of gravity against itself to make the impossible weight feel almost effortless. He demonstrated a profound understanding of harmonic balance, perhaps tuning his blocks to a specific frequency that allowed them to be manipulated with minimal force, a concept that echoes ancient beliefs about the resonant properties of stone. His secretive nature, however, was both his power and his tragedy. He built his castle as a testament to a lost love, and in his solitary obsession, the personal blueprint for his engineering marvel remained locked within his mind, vanishing when he passed. Modern teams have tried to replicate his work, attempting to move multi-ton blocks using only the primitive tools Leedskalnin described. Their struggles highlight the vast gulf between theoretical ideas and the practical, hands-on genius he possessed. These experiments reveal that his true innovation may not have been a magical device, but an almost supernatural patience and an intuitive grasp of leverage and pivot points that he refined through years of trial and error. His story stands as a powerful, modern symbol of individual genius, a reminder that monumental achievement can spring from a single, determined mind. Yet it also serves as a sobering caution. How many other unique innovations and personal blueprints fade from memory each day, lost because their creators, by choice or by circumstance, never passed their knowledge on? Leedskalnin's Coral Garden bridges the ancient losses of Alexandria with the quiet, ongoing disappearances in our own time, challenging us to consider what brilliant, fragile understanding we might be overlooking in our relentless pursuit of the new. Beneath the waves, entire cities sleep, their harbors now home to silent fish and shifting sands. The colossal Portus Magnus of Alexandria lies submerged, a ghost of the bustling trade hub that once connected continents. Here, marine archaeologists like Frank Gaudio have mapped a sunken landscape, where the scattered remains of breakwaters and quays form a cryptic diagram of ancient engineering genius. These are the blueprints written not on parchment, but in stone on the seafloor, waiting for us to decipher their logic. Using advanced sonar and meticulous diving surveys, researchers trace the outlines of canals and the massive foundations of the legendary Pharaoh's lighthouse. They are reverse engineering the port's original design from its skeletal remains, revealing how its architects tamed the Mediterranean's power. The key was a sophisticated understanding of hydraulics. They constructed massive breakwaters, often by sinking old ships filled with rubble, to create a calm inner harbor for docking. Quays were built with a gentle slope, allowing vessels of different sizes to access them regardless of the tide. Most revolutionary was their use of hydraulic concrete, a material that could set and harden underwater. While Pliny the Elder recorded some of its ingredients, like volcanic ash, the complete formula and mixing techniques used by Roman engineers have never been fully recovered. This knowledge allowed them to build durable ports from Caesarea in Judea to the great Roman naval base at Portus. Their designs were also shaped by generations of seafaring experience. Harbors were strategically aligned with seasonal winds and currents, making entry and exit safer for the wooden ships that powered their empires. This maritime intuition was a form of collective intelligence, a blueprint carried in the minds of countless sailors and shipwrights. Even the controversial Yonaguni monument off the coast of Japan, with its striking terraces and right angles, prompts a profound question: whether a natural formation shaped by tides or the remnant of a lost civilization. It challenges our assumptions about what ancient coastal blueprints might look like and how much history is still hidden by the ocean. All of this sunken evidence compels us to look at our own shorelines. As modern sea levels rise, threatening coastal cities worldwide, what practical wisdom can we draw from these ancient adaptations? Their resilient designs, born from a deep collaboration with the sea rather than a fight against it, offer timeless lessons in building for an uncertain future. A single bonfire in the Yucatan consumed 1,000 years of genius. During the Spanish conquest, zealous friars systematically gathered and burned Maya books, believing them to contain pagan lies. In those flames vanished entire libraries of architectural and astronomical knowledge, blueprints for cities like Tikal and Palenque that were reduced to ash. This was not merely the loss of stories, but the incineration of a civilization's technical manual. The few codices that survived, like the Dresden and Madrid codices, are now precious keys to a locked door, offering fragmented glimpses into a lost world of engineering. Epigraphers like David Stewart dedicate their lives to decoding the intricate glyphs within these books, revealing complex mathematical formulas. They have found that the Maya did not just track time, they built by it, using their profound calendar systems to determine the precise alignments for their temples, ensuring structures were in harmony with celestial cycles. This suggests that the lost volumes likely held detailed construction plans, now irrecoverable. The physical evidence left behind is staggering. Maya engineers perfected the corbel arch, creating stable, vaulted chambers without true arches or metal tools. They developed a form of hydraulic lime plaster so durable it could seal massive reservoir systems, a critical innovation for supporting vast urban populations in a jungle environment. At observatories like El Caracol at Chichen Itza, priest astronomers used these celestial blueprints to design windows and sightlines that framed the movements of Venus with breathtaking accuracy. The Dresden Codex itself contains detailed Venus tables, and researchers now believe these were not just for ritual but practical guides that may have dictated the orientation of entire cities. Modern technology like LiDAR scanning peels back the jungle canopy to reveal the ghostly outlines of these engineered landscapes, showing extensive reservoir networks and causeways that we can only partially understand. The techniques for building and maintaining these systems, however, were recorded in those bark paper books. Their destruction forces a haunting reflection. In our modern, interconnected world, where global culture can sometimes overshadow local tradition, how do we ensure we protect these diverse and irreplaceable systems of knowledge? The tragedy of the Maya codices is a permanent lesson in the fragility of human heritage, a stark reminder that a blueprint can be far more vulnerable than the stone it describes. This silent sentinel of iron in Delhi has defied 16 centuries of rain and sun without a trace of rust. Its smooth, dark surface is a material mystery, a physical blueprint for metallurgy perfected by Gupta-era engineers who left no written formulas behind. Their secrets were not inscribed on parchment, but embedded within the metal itself, a legacy of oral tradition and relentless experimentation passed down within closed clans of master smiths. For generations, these artisans honed their craft, discovering through countless trials that the very slag, the waste product of their iron smelting, could become a powerful protector. Materials scientist R. Balasubramanian's studies reveal the pillar's magic lies in its high phosphorus content, an element that reacted with the iron to form a thin, invisible, and remarkably stable film that shields the metal from the elements. This was not a calculated addition from a laboratory, but an accidental genius born from using specific iron ores and a unique forging process. The smiths likely employed wind-powered furnaces, their design a communal secret to achieve the intense heats required. They selected ore from particular mines, their choices guided by a deep, traditional knowledge of the land, creating a perfect recipe through practices embedded in local culture rather than formal science. The pillar itself carries an inscription, a poetic dedication that speaks of a king and his spiritual conquests. This hints that its creation was as much a ritual act as a technical one, where engineering excellence was intertwined with divine purpose, a physical prayer crafted in iron. The frustrating absence of other large-scale iron artifacts from this golden age only deepens the mystery, suggesting this pinnacle of craftsmanship was a rare, localized achievement, its methods so closely guarded they vanished with the guilds that perfected them. Today, modern industry looks to this ancient pillar with renewed respect. Attempts to replicate its unique phosphoric composition have directly informed the development of more advanced, corrosion-resistant steel alloys. This ancient, empirical approach to problem-solving, one of observation and adaptation, offers a powerful lesson. In our pursuit of sustainable materials, could we benefit from re-embracing this slower, more intuitive dialogue with the substances we use? The pillar's enduring presence challenges the very notion of a lost blueprint, proving that sometimes the most profound instructions are not written in ink, but forged in fire and preserved in the patient memory of metal. From the sky, the Nazca Desert reveals a sprawling canvas of giants, a hummingbird with wings spanning the length of 2 football fields, a spider with legs stretching toward the horizon, and a perfect spiral that seems to pull the earth itself into a vortex. These are the Nazca lines, and their existence presents a breathtaking puzzle. How did a culture without flight or written blueprints engineer these perfect, monumental earthworks? The answer lies not in the sky but on the ground, with simple tools and profound geometric wisdom. Archaeologists like Maria Reich, who spent decades living among the lines, proposed that the Nazca people began with small-scale models. A master designer would first create a precise drawing on a much smaller surface. Then, using a system of stakes and ropes, teams of workers would scale the design up to its colossal dimensions. They employed a method of proportional division, breaking the complex shape of a monkey or a condor into a grid of manageable sections. To maintain a perfectly straight line for miles, they would set up a series of sighting poles. A worker would peer over one set of poles to align the next, creating a human theodolite that could chart a course across the vast, stony plain. The physical creation of the lines was an act of subtraction. They did not build up the shapes, but carefully removed the dark, oxidized surface stones to reveal the lighter, sand-colored soil beneath. This created a stark contrast visible from a great height, a negative space drawing on a planetary scale. Reich and others noted that many of the lines and figures align with key astronomical events, like the solstice sunrises, suggesting they functioned as a massive celestial calendar, tracking the seasons for a society dependent on agriculture. Their purpose was likely deeply ceremonial as well, serving as ritual pathways for communities to walk, physically tracing the forms of their sacred animals in a powerful act of connection to the cosmos. Modern technology continues to unlock their secrets. Drone mapping has recently revealed dozens of previously unknown figures, some hidden on hillsides, adding new layers to this ancient mystery. These discoveries have prompted theories that the lines may have also been involved in water divination, with their pathways channeling ceremonial movement toward vital underground aquifers in the arid landscape. This immense communal artwork, etched directly into the skin of the earth, forces a powerful reflection for our own time. In an era of environmental challenges, how can these ancient examples of large-scale land art inspire modern community projects? The Nazca lines remind us that the most profound blueprints are not always documents to be stored away, but can be living, physical inscriptions that bind a community to its environment, turning the very land into a testament of shared belief and collective memory. A blueprint can be so thoroughly lost that it calls the very existence of its creation into question. The legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon present this very paradox, a wonder described in lush detail by ancient historians, yet absent from the archaeological record and any surviving builder's plan. Writers like Strabo and Diodorus Siculus painted a vivid picture of terraced gardens rising like a green mountain, watered by complex screw pumps that lifted water from the Euphrates River to the highest levels. Their accounts suggest a feat of hydraulic engineering so advanced that modern scholars often look to contemporary Assyrian designs for clues, imagining a system of chain pumps and carefully sealed clay pipes working in unison. The knowledge required to keep such a structure watered and stable in a desert climate would have been immense, a testament to the ingenuity of Babylonian engineers. This specialized understanding, however, may have faded with the city's own political and cultural decline, vanishing before it could be fully recorded. The construction itself would have relied on clever adaptations, like bricks sealed with natural bitumen to prevent leaks, and the strategic planting of shade trees to create cooler microclimates for the plants thriving below. It is the power of myth and storytelling that has kept the idea of this blueprint alive for millennia, a cultural memory so persistent it continues to inspire. Today, we see this pursuit in action through modern reconstructions in botanical gardens and museums, where historians and engineers collaborate to build scaled models using only period-appropriate materials, testing whether the described screws and vaults could have functioned as the ancient texts claim. These experiments are more than academic exercises. They force us to confront a compelling question about our own drive to understand the past. How does the passionate pursuit of a legendary blueprint, even one that might be partly mythical, actually fuel innovation in historical reconstruction and the way we tell our shared human story? This beautiful blend of verifiable history and enduring legend ensures that the search for these lost plans remains a vibrant, living conversation. The shattered foundations left by Persian invaders were not a blank slate but a challenge to memory. Pericles and his architects, including the visionary Ectinos and the master sculptor Phidias, faced a monumental task, rebuilding the Acropolis not from a set of pristine drawings, but by adapting the sacred footprints of older, ruined temples. Their genius lay in applying a living system of proportion, a visual mathematics that guided every decision. Art historian John Boardman notes how they employed the golden ratio, a relationship where the smaller part is to the larger as the larger is to the whole, creating an instinctive sense of balance and beauty in the Parthenon's facade. But their brilliance went beyond static formulas. To counter the eye's tendency to see straight lines as sagging, they introduced subtle curves known as intosses in the columns, a swelling that makes them appear perfectly upright and robust from a distance. This was knowledge likely transferred not on papyrus, but through small-scale clay or stone models in sculptor schools, where the master's hand could physically demonstrate the precise curvature needed. The very material, brilliant white Pentelic marble, was quarried from Mount Pentelicus using techniques inherited from their Mycenaean ancestors. Teams would hammer wooden wedges into natural fissures, soaking them with water so the expanding wood would crack the stone with incredible precision. These massive blocks were then transported on wooden sledges and rolled up earthen ramps into position using nothing but levers, ropes, and immense human effort. The financial accounts for this vast project were meticulously inscribed directly onto the marble walls themselves, acting as a public and permanent organizational blueprint. These inscriptions detail payments to thousands of skilled laborers, from carpenters to goldsmiths, and the costs of materials, revealing a highly structured, community-funded enterprise managed with startling transparency. Phidias oversaw this symphony of creation, ensuring that the sculptural narratives of the frieze and pediments were not mere decorations, but an integral part of the architectural frame, telling the story of Athenian identity and divine favor. Today, the ongoing restoration of the Acropolis is a slow, deliberate act of archaeological reverence. Engineers use the original fragments, each one a unique piece of the puzzle, to guide the precise placement of new marble, slowly recovering the lost details of this classical vision. This entire endeavor, born from the ashes of conflict, compels a powerful question for our time. As modern cities face the increasing need to rebuild after natural disasters or social upheaval, what lessons can we draw from this ancient, iterative model? The Acropolis stands as a timeless testament to resilience achieved not through a single, rigid plan, but through a shared cultural vision, collective skill, and a profound trust in the geometric principles that order our world. A caravan master did not carry rolled parchment schematics in his pack, but something far more valuable, a mind filled with the memory of techniques. Along the Silk Road, engineering knowledge traveled as a living current, passed from one skilled hand to another in the bustling caravanserais that dotted the route from China to the Mediterranean. Historian Peter Frankopan highlights cities like Samarkand as vital hubs, where builders from different worlds met. They exchanged not formal blueprints, but practical solutions for constructing stable bridges across ravines or designing fortified rest stops that could shelter hundreds of travelers and their animals. A Persian engineer might demonstrate the principle of a qanat, an underground canal that tapped distant aquifers, to a Chinese counterpart. In return, he would learn about advanced papermaking or the secrets of sturdy bridge construction. This was a cross-cultural dialogue in the most literal sense, where knowledge was demonstrated, not dictated. This exchange relied on the migration of artisans themselves. When Buddhist monks traveled from India into East Asia, they did not carry detailed architectural plans for their stupas. Instead, they carried the principles in their minds, describing the symbolic forms to local builders, who then interpreted them using their own materials and aesthetic traditions. The result was a beautiful hybridization, a stupa in China or Japan that was recognizably the same sacred structure, yet uniquely adapted to its new home. We see this in the spread of the windmill from Persia into Central Asia, and later, the magnetic compass from China to Europe. Each technology was adopted and then refined by its new users, who applied their own insights to improve the original idea. Standardization played a quiet but crucial role in this blueprint-free network. The widespread use of consistent brick sizes across empires meant that a builder in one region could understand the structural logic of a monument in another, even if they did not share a common language. They could see how arches were formed and vaults were supported, simply by observing the patterns in the masonry. This shared material language allowed for the seamless integration of foreign motifs into local monuments, creating architectural fusion. The most profound example is the dome. Its sophisticated construction methods, perfected in the Middle East, traveled west along these same routes. The techniques eventually reached Italy, where they would later inspire the Renaissance architects who solved the puzzle of the Florence Cathedral, creating a direct lineage of knowledge that spanned continents and centuries. This historical model of collaboration presents a powerful question for our own interconnected world. We have instant digital communication, but have we lost the depth of that hands-on, person-to-person exchange that once transformed entire technologies? The Silk Road teaches us that the most resilient blueprints are not documents, but the shared understanding that emerges when diverse minds work on a common problem. In facing global challenges like sustainable design and resource management, how can we create modern caravanserais, spaces where practical knowledge can be demonstrated and adapted, continuing that ancient, vital trade in ideas? A digital sun now rises over the Circus Maximus, where only a grassy oval remains in Rome. A virtual reality headset can fill the space with roaring crowds and thundering chariots, a spectacle resurrected from scattered stone foundations and ancient descriptions. This is the new frontier of archaeology, where artists and engineers collaborate not with trowels but with code, piecing together the ghostly outlines of lost blueprints. Projects like Digital Hadrian's Villa use laser scanners to capture millions of data points from every surviving wall and column. These precise digital clouds are then merged with the accounts of historians like Cassius Dio, allowing researchers to hypothesize the original layouts and functions of complex buildings whose physical plans have long since turned to dust. The process is a form of architectural detective work. By analyzing the pattern of post holes left in a foundation, software can generate a dozen plausible roof structures. By studying the mineral content in soil samples, experts can infer the path of an invisible drainage system, revealing how ancient engineers managed water flow across an entire complex. This digital resurrection extends to the Grand Basilica of Maxentius. Its colossal ruins hint at its scale, but only through three-dimensional modeling could engineers fully appreciate the innovation of its coffered concrete vaults, a design that distributed immense weight to create a vast, open interior space, a blueprint for the future that was almost lost. The search for these hidden plans has even become a collective effort. Satellite imagery and aerial photography are now crowdsourced, with thousands of online volunteers scanning landscapes for subtle discolorations in crops or soil that reveal the outlines of buried walls and roads, features invisible from the ground. This powerful technology, however, brings profound ethical questions. When reconstructing a site sacred to an indigenous culture or a monument central to a community's identity, whose vision guides the digital recreation. The process must be a collaboration, ensuring these virtual blueprints honor cultural memory rather than overwrite it, so we are left with a transformative question. As these digital models become more sophisticated, offering us a clearer window into the engineering genius of the past, how can they do more than just recreate? How can they inspire? The true potential lies in using these rediscovered blueprints not as static museum exhibits, but as active mentors, informing new forms of sustainable architecture and resilient design for the world we are building today. From the celestial alignment of the pyramids to the digital resurrection of ancient arenas, our journey uncovers a profound truth. The greatest blueprints were never just ink on parchment. They were written in the stars, forged in communal effort, and carved into the very landscape. These lost methods teach us that human ingenuity truly thrives through adaptation, through the shared knowledge of a community, and through a relentless, creative drive to solve problems with the resources at hand. We have witnessed how oral traditions passed techniques across generations, how celestial observations guided perfect alignments, and how hands-on practice built wonders that still leave us in awe. This legacy challenges our modern approach to building and preserving knowledge. It reminds us that the essence of engineering lies not in the perfection of a plan, but in the resilient spirit of problem solving. Let these stories inspire you to look closer at the world's enduring wonders, from the ancient stones in your own region to the modern structures that define our skyline. Consider what blueprints you are creating in your own life, the tangible projects and the intangible lessons you pass on to others. We would love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments which lost blueprint you would most want to recover from history, and subscribe to join us on more deep dives into history's hidden gems. Together, we can help keep the incredible legacy of these master engineers alive, ensuring their timeless ingenuity continues to inspire generations